Welcome to a world where ancient voices still whisper through the winds. Step into the timeless stories of native tribes, filled with sacred rituals, powerful legends, and deep-rooted wisdom. Grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and prepare to walk the path of spirit, strength, and mystery. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. Your roots matter here, if these stories move you. Give this video a like and subscribe for more sacred journeys. The drum beats are calling. Let the journey begin. Inside the most shocking rituals of an ancient tribe beneath the ancient shadows of Anatolia, where rugged mountains meet dense forests. The Hattian blood priests carved a world unlike any other. This tribe, shrouded in mystery and whispered fear, built their identity on rituals soaked in blood and fear. Their origins remain lost in time, but fragments tell of a people who lived apart, hidden from the eyes of nearby kingdoms, guardians of secrets darker than the night itself. Devotion among the Hattians was not gentle or kind. It was forged through pain, through the spilling of blood, through ceremonies that demanded sacrifice, both physical and spiritual. They believed blood was a sacred link, an offering to gods who demanded proof of loyalty in the most brutal forms. This obsession shaped everything: their ceremonies, their laws, their very existence. Surrounded by hostile tribes and wary empires, the Hattians embraced isolation. Their villages were fortress-like, sealed by fear and guarded by the iron will of the priests who ruled them. These priests were no ordinary leaders. They were the keepers of terror and the voice of the divine, claiming to channel the wrath and blessings of gods who thrived on sacrifice. Their influence stretched beyond their borders, whispering into the politics of neighboring civilizations who both feared and sought their favor. Shocking tales survive from travelers and ancient texts accounts of entire gatherings where the air thickened with the scent of burning flesh and iron, and where screams were a form of prayer. It was a society where brutality was not just punishment, but a sacred ritual, a necessary passage to connect with a divine power only the blood priests could wield. This tribe's world was built on extremes, loyalty and through suffering, faith sealed with sacrifice, and order maintained by dread. Understanding the Hattian blood priests means stepping into a reality where the line between the sacred and the savage disappears, and where the thirst for blood was both a curse and a covenant. As this world unfolds, the rituals that bound the tribe in blood will reveal the depths of their belief and the terrifying power they wielded over life and death. At the heart of the Hattian blood priests' faith lay the ritual of the Crimson Covenant ceremony. Unlike any other, where blood was not just spilled but revered as the purest offering to the gods. This ritual demanded that followers draw their own blood in agonizing ways, turning pain into a sacred language understood only by the devout. The crimson flow was believed to cleanse the soul, breaking down the barriers between mortal flesh and divine spirit. Participants entered the ritual space stripped of all protection, both physical and emotional. Their skin was pierced with sharpened obsidian blades, cutting deep but with precise cruelty. Each drop of blood was collected carefully in sacred vessels. While chanting, priests intoned prayers that mingled agony with devotion. The ritual was not a fleeting act, but a prolonged trial, hours stretched into a grueling test of endurance and faith. Pain was central, but so was the silence between cries, a tense stillness where the mind battled to transcend suffering. Those who participated believed the torment purified their inner self, burning away impurity and doubt. The act of bleeding became a bridge, connecting human frailty to immortal power. It was an intense surrender to forces unseen, a pact sealed by wounds. This ceremony was more than physical sacrifice. It was a psychological crucible where fear, pain, and devotion fused into a singular, terrifying experience. The Hattian blood priests claimed that only through this ordeal could the faithful gain favor with gods who ruled over life and death. demanding absolute loyalty sealed in blood. The ritual's brutal beauty left a lasting imprint not just on the flesh but on the spirit of those who survived. It shaped the identity of the tribe, embedding a culture where suffering was sanctified and the flow of blood became a sacred bond stronger than any oath. The Crimson Covenant was the pulse of the Hattian faith, a dark heartbeat that echoed through their ceremonies and laws, setting the stage for the punishments that awaited those who dared to break their sacred codes. For the Hattian blood priests, justice was never simple. Punishment was a spectacle of horror, a ritual designed to break the body and crush the spirit often long before death claimed its final toll. Execution alone was not enough. The tribe believed that true justice demanded that suffering extend beyond this life, a torment that echoed into the afterlife to warn others and appease the gods. Trials were harsh ceremonies where the accused faced not only judgment but brutal physical torment. Punishments were public, intended to inspire fear throughout the community. The guilty endured agonizing methods that stretched hours or even days, each designed to inflict maximum pain while reinforcing the sacred power of the priests. Flesh was torn, limbs bound and twisted, and bones crushed in slow, deliberate cruelty. One of the most feared punishments involved binding the condemned to stakes surrounded by fire, where the slow burn was both a physical punishment and a spiritual purification. As smoke curled into the sky, the victims' cries were believed to carry their sins away, but also to warn those who might defy the tribe's laws. Others were subjected to ritualized beatings with thorned whips, leaving raw, bleeding wounds that marked the body as a reminder of their transgressions. The Hattians also practiced symbolic punishments, actions meant to curse the soul for eternity. The condemned might have their blood drained and mixed with sacred soil, sealing their fate beyond death. Some were subjected to rites that severed the connection between body and spirit, ensuring their torment would persist in the afterlife. These ceremonies were overseen by the blood priests, who claimed to act as both judges and executioners, wielding the divine authority to condemn beyond mortal limits. This system of punishment reinforced the priests' control, binding the tribe with terror and obedience. Fear of these brutal rites kept order, but also forged a culture where pain was inseparable from justice. The threat of eternal suffering hung over every member of the tribe, a constant reminder of the cost of betrayal. As the Hattians enforced their laws with such merciless severity, the next chapter reveals how the blood priests maintained their iron grip not only through punishment, but by weaving cruelty into every aspect of their sacred authority. The blood priests stood at the pinnacle of Hattian society, their power absolute and unquestioned. They were more than spiritual guides. They were rulers who commanded loyalty through fear and unyielding cruelty. Their word was law, their rituals a display of dominance designed to remind everyone that obedience came at the price of suffering. Theirs was a reign built on terror as much as faith. Every act of cruelty, every brutal ceremony, served a purpose beyond devotion. It was a tool to keep the tribe under control, to silence doubt and rebellion before it could take root. The priests wielded dark rites not only to communicate with the gods but to enforce their will on the living. Their presence alone could turn hope into despair, and their punishments ensured that defiance was unthinkable. Even those closest to the priest's apprentices and trusted followers were not spared. Initiation into the priesthood was a terrifying journey marked by trials that tested endurance and loyalty. Pain was a rite of passage, and failure meant exile or worse. These ordeals ensured that cruelty was embedded deeply in the priestly identity, creating leaders who ruled through both spiritual authority and ruthless discipline. The priests' control extended into every corner of daily life. They dictated who could live and who must suffer, which sacrifices would please the gods and which crimes deserved eternal torment. Their cruel decisions were accepted as divine judgment, blurring the line between sacred law and tyrannical rule. This fusion of fear and faith made their power unshakable. Under the shadow of the blood priests, the Hattian tribe became a society where cruelty was normalized, and obedience was sealed in blood. Their dark authority shaped every ritual, every punishment, and every whispered prayer, locking the tribe in a cycle of terror from which there was no escape. This grip on power set the stage for the tribe's most chilling beliefs, where death was not the end, but a doorway to eternal servitude and suffering. The next chapter explores these beliefs and the terrifying promises they carried for the Hattian blood priests. Death was not an end, but a transformation, a passage to a new existence shaped by eternal servitude. To the gods, their beliefs twisted life and death into a cycle where suffering was not only expected but sacred. Pain became a necessary purification, a dark path toward rebirth that bound the living and the dead alike in unbreakable chains. The tribe embraced rituals promising that through agony and sacrifice, the soul would shed its earthly flaws and rise renewed. This rebirth was not gentle or kind. It demanded enduring torment that echoed the trials faced in life and beyond. Followers believed that only those who fully surrendered to pain could hope to serve the gods eternally, their spirits becoming vessels of divine will in a never-ending cycle of worship and suffering. This belief justified the tribe's harsh punishments and brutal ceremonies. Pain was sanctified, cruelty was divine, death was merely a doorway to continued obedience. Such a worldview made fear and loyalty inseparable, as resisting the tribe's rituals meant not only social exile, but a cursed fate in the afterlife, an existence of torment without release. The promise of pain shaped every aspect of Hattian culture. It forged a society where enduring pain was seen as noble, where blood was the currency of salvation, and where the boundary between life and death blurred into one endless ritual of devotion. This eternal servitude was both a curse and a blessing, binding the tribe's fate to the will of gods who demanded complete submission. In the shadows of these beliefs, the Hattian blood priests ruled with unchallenged power. Their rituals, a chilling testament to faith turned cruel and unforgiving. The legacy they left behind is a haunting reminder of how extreme beliefs can shape not only culture, but the very soul of a people, transforming suffering into sacred sacrifice and death into endless devotion. Secrets of the Himba, unveiling their shocking rituals and ancient beliefs. The Himba Tribe stands as one of Africa's last great links to a time untouched by the rush of modern life. Deep in Namibia's harsh desert, where the sun beats down relentlessly and the land is as unforgiving as it is vast, the Himba have carved out a world that feels frozen in time. Their red ochre skin and intricate hairstyles catch the eye, symbols not only of beauty but of identity and survival in an environment that demands resilience at every turn. Life here is raw and relentless. Water is scarce, and the Himba move with the seasons, following ancient rhythms to find the life-giving springs hidden beneath the arid earth. Their semi-nomadic existence is a delicate balance between nature's cruelty and the tribe's fierce determination to survive. This struggle is etched into every aspect of their culture, from the way they dress to the rituals they practice, many of which are far from what outsiders might expect. The striking red paste that coats their bodies is more than decoration. Made from butterfat mixed with ochre pigment, it shields them from the sun's harsh rays, disguises their scent from biting insects, and carries deep spiritual meaning. But beneath this vivid surface lies a system of belief and social order that governs every action, every interaction. Bound by customs passed down through countless generations, the Himba live in a world where tradition is law and every ritual serves a purpose beyond the obvious. Women wear their hair in complex styles that signify age, social status, and readiness for marriage, while men are marked by different symbols of their role within the tribe. These visual codes maintain a strict hierarchy and protect the tribe's fragile cohesion. Yet, these outward signs also conceal harsh realities, rules, and punishments that can seem extreme, even cruel, to outsiders. In this remote corner of Namibia, the Himba tribe exists not just as a community, but as guardians of an ancient, almost forgotten world. Their customs, strange and shocking to many, are threads that hold their society together. What may appear bizarre or extreme carries the weight of survival and the echo of centuries-old beliefs. As the layers of their culture unfold, the true depth of their rituals and their meanings come into view. Rituals that will soon reveal how far the Himba will go to preserve their way of life. This fragile balance between beauty and brutality leads into the next chapter, where the red ochre's secret is more than skin deep. A deep, rust-red cloak covers the Himba from head to toe, transforming skin into a living canvas. This is no simple decoration. The red ochre paste, known as ojais, is a sacred armor born from the earth itself, mixed from butterfat and ochre pigment. It protects against the relentless desert sun, but its purpose runs far deeper, woven tightly into the fabric of Himba identity and belief. Each morning, women smooth this thick, fragrant paste over their bodies and hair, layering protection against more than just heat and insects. The red hue is believed to shield the wearer from malevolent spirits lurking beyond the visible world. It acts as a spiritual barrier, guarding the soul from harm. This daily ritual is both an act of physical survival and a sacred gesture toward unseen forces that shape their lives. The ojais also serves as a strict social marker. Young girls, and touched by marriage, with their skin coated in the red paste as a sign of purity and virginity. It is a visible code that defines their place in the tribe and signals their availability within the rigid rules of courtship and marriage. This purity is fiercely protected, and the red ochre becomes a tool to enforce extreme codes of chastity. Breaking these rules brings shame and harsh consequences. Beyond beauty and protection, the red paste enforces a system of control over women's bodies and freedoms. It shapes how they move, interact, and even how they are seen by others in the tribe. Hairstyles sculpted with the same red mixture symbolize stages of life: childhood, readiness for marriage, motherhood, each one a public declaration of status and rule. Women's appearances are carefully managed by tradition, binding them tightly within cultural expectations. Men, too, use ojais, though differently. Their application is more sporadic and connected to rites of passage or special ceremonies. For women, however, the red ochre is constant, a daily mark of belonging and obedience. This ritual is both beautiful and suffocating, a practice that blends ancient spirituality with strict social control. Beneath the vibrant red lies a harsh truth. The Himba's identity is inseparable from the rules and restrictions enforced by the ojais. What begins as a shield becomes a symbol of deeper power struggles within the tribe, hinting at the harsher realities behind this striking tradition. In the unforgiving expanse of the Namibian desert, order within the Himba tribe is maintained not just by tradition, but by a harsh system of punishments that leave lasting marks both on the body and the spirit. Disobedience is met with swift and brutal consequences, designed to enforce obedience and uphold the delicate balance of their tightly woven society. To outsiders, these punishments can appear shocking, even cruel, but for the Himba, they are essential tools for survival. Physical pain is a language spoken clearly and without mercy. Public beatings are common, serving as warnings to all who might challenge the tribe's codes. Striking the body becomes a way to strike fear into hearts, ensuring conformity to ancient customs. The pain inflicted is meant to cleanse disobedience and restore harmony, but it also reveals a world where fear underpins respect. More permanent reminders come in the form of scarring ritual marks etched into skin to symbolize transgressions and social wreck. These scars carry stories of rebellion and submission, of lessons learned through suffering. They brand individuals with a history that cannot be hidden. A visible reminder of the tribe's uncompromising rules. For many, the scars become badges of both shame and survival. Public humiliation, too, is wielded like a weapon. Those who break strict customs may be shunned or ridiculed in front of the entire community. Their social standing shattered as surely as their flesh. In a society where reputation is everything, this kind of punishment can be more devastating than physical pain, isolating offenders and warning others of the cost of defiance. Women, in particular, bear the weight of these punishments. Their bodies and behavior are closely monitored, and any breach of the strict purity codes or failure to fulfill traditional roles can provoke harsh retribution. The line between protection and control blurs, revealing a culture where pain is both a tool of discipline and a mechanism to preserve ancient power structures. Beneath the calm surface of the Himba's colorful rituals lies a society held together by fear and submission. Pain and punishment are as vital to their survival as water and fire, enforcing a rigid social order that leaves no room for dissent. This dark reality challenges the romantic image often painted of the Himba as a peaceful, timeless tribe. For the Himba, death is not an end, but a transformation, a passage where the living and the dead remain closely bound by invisible threads. Their beliefs weave fear and reverence into rituals meant to honor ancestors and secure the tribe's survival. These ancient ceremonies challenge modern ideas about life and death, revealing a world where spirits hold immense power over the living. When a member of the tribe dies, the community enters a tense period of mourning mixed with cautious respect. The body is not simply buried and forgotten. Instead, the Himba perform complex funerary rituals designed to ease the soul's journey and prevent restless spirits from bringing harm. These ceremonies can be unsettling, involving symbolic acts that to outsiders might seem bizarre or even disturbing. One such practice includes the cleansing of the deceased's belongings and living space with smoke and herbs, a ritual meant to purify and protect. At times, the tribe may remove hair or nails from the dead to prevent their misuse by evil forces. These acts underline a deep fear of spiritual contamination and the fragile barrier between worlds. The Himba also believe that the ancestors continue to watch over the tribe, influencing fertility, health, and fortune. Honoring them through offerings and prayers is essential. Failure to respect these spirits risks curses, disease, or drought. This intense spiritual vigilance shapes daily life and community decisions, embedding death's presence in every moment. Yet, the most striking aspect of their death rituals is the community's handling of the body itself. Unlike many cultures that seek to distance the dead, the Himba maintain physical and emotional proximity. Mourning may include touching or even sharing the body's remains in sacred ways, creating a continuous bond that defies Western notions of separation. These extreme rituals reveal a worldview where life and death are inseparable, and survival depends on maintaining balance with unseen forces. What may seem harsh or strange is vital to preserving the Himba's fragile harmony in a harsh environment. This reverence for ancestors and fear of their power echoes deeply throughout the tribe's identity. Within the vibrant world of the Himba, women are the heartbeat of tradition, carrying forward rituals that shape the tribe's identity and continuity. Yet, beneath this vital role lies a profound silence. Despite their central place in daily life, women rarely hold power in decision-making or leadership. Their voices, though essential, are often muted by the weight of custom and expectation. Himba women are guardians of culture, responsible for maintaining sacred practices such as the application of the red ochre paste, hairstyling, and the preparation of ceremonial spaces. These daily rituals are not mere customs, they are acts of preservation, connecting the present generation to ancestors long gone. Yet, the very traditions women uphold also bind them in strict roles, limiting personal freedom and enforcing obedience to tribal laws. This paradox of power and submission shapes the lives of Himba women. They hold cultural influence through their duties but remain subordinate within the tribe's patriarchal structure. Marriage, fertility, and purity govern much of their existence. Strict codes dictate behavior and appearance, reinforcing control over their bodies and choices. Women who challenge these rules risk punishment or ostracism, maintaining a cycle of silence and compliance. The Himba's gender dynamics are extreme by modern standards, yet deeply rooted in survival, in a harsh environment where every member's role can mean life or death. Clear social order is enforced. Women's submission is intertwined with protection. A system designed to preserve the tribe's fragile unity in the face of relentless external pressures, despite the silence imposed on them. Himba women wield subtle forms of power. Through their roles as mothers and ritual keepers, they influence the tribe's spiritual and social fabric. Their strength is quiet but enduring, sustaining a culture that demands sacrifice and resilience. This complex balance between silence and influence reveals much about the tribe's inner workings. Behind the striking appearance and bold rituals lies a society shaped by ancient survival tactics. A world where power is both visible and hidden. The Himba tribe stands at a crossroads, where ancient tradition meets the relentless tide of modern change. As roads, technology, and tourism inch closer, the pressure to abandon or alter age-old customs grows heavier. The tribe faces a brutal choice: cling tightly to rituals that have defined their identity for centuries or risk losing themselves. By adapting to a world beyond the desert, preserving these extreme rituals comes with a profound cost. The strict codes that govern behavior, especially those controlling women's lives, are increasingly difficult to maintain. Younger generations, exposed to new ideas and freedoms, question the price of obedience and silence, the harsh punishments, rigid purity rules, and demanding ceremonies that once ensured survival now risk alienating those who might otherwise carry the culture forward. Yet, surrendering tradition threatens the tribe's cohesion and sense of self. The red ochre that paints their skin, the rituals that bind them to ancestors, and the social order enforced through pain and control all form a fragile shield against an uncertain future. Without these anchors, the Himba risk becoming lost in a world that neither understands nor respects their way of life. This struggle between preservation and change is a silent battle fought in the desert sun. It tests the limits of endurance, identity, and belief. The Himba story is one of survival not just against nature, but against time itself, a fight to hold on to a culture as the world shifts beneath their feet. Their future remains uncertain, suspended between the weight of tradition and the pull of modernity. What path the Himba choose will define not only their survival, but the legacy of one of the last truly untouched tribes on Earth. Huaorani Tribe. Inside the deadly rituals of the Amazon's fiercest warrior hidden within the dense green walls of the Amazon rainforest, the Huaorani tribe exists as a fierce enigma, far from the reach of cities and modern life. Their world is one where every breath is a fight for survival. The tribe's reputation echoes beyond the jungle, whispered tales of warriors who strike swiftly, wielding poison-tipped arrows and an unyielding will to protect their land and people. To outsiders, the Huaorani are often seen as ruthless, yet their culture is rooted deeply in ancient laws and a code of honor that shapes every moment of their lives. The origins of the Huaorani are as mysterious as the jungle they call home. Generations have lived untouched by the outside world, their history passed down through stories told by firelight. These tales speak of a people born from the forest itself, Intertwined with the trees and animals round them, their language is rich and complex, a secret thread binding them together in isolation. Life for the Huaorani is a delicate balance, where every member must master the skills of the hunt and the wisdom of the elders to survive. At the heart of Huaorani society lies a strict social code, a set of unwritten laws as sharp and unforgiving as the weapons they carry. Respect is earned through courage and loyalty, and betrayal is met with swift and brutal punishment. This code governs relationships, alliances, and even conflict, guiding the tribe through cycles of peace and violent retribution. The world outside their forest is often seen as a threat, a place of unknown dangers that must be kept at bay. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of Huaorani culture is the practice of headhunting, a ritual that defines their identity as warriors and protectors. Taking an enemy's head is not merely an act of violence, but a sacred duty, symbolizing honor and the restoration of balance. Each trophy is a testament to the tribe's strength and a warning to those who dare to invade their land. The ritual is woven with deep spiritual meaning, believed to capture the enemy's spirit and keep it from harming the tribe. This fierce devotion to tradition and survival has allowed the Huaorani to endure where others might have vanished. Yet, beneath the harshness lies a profound connection to the jungle, a respect for a life that is as intense as their willingness to defend it. This world, both beautiful and terrifying, sets the stage for rituals and beliefs that push the boundaries of what most can understand, from blood-soaked revenge to rituals of poison and power. The Huaorani's world is one shaped by the demands of survival and the weight of ancestral customs. Their story is a haunting glimpse into the extremes of human culture, a life lived on the edge of the wild, where ancient laws reign and every act carries the weight of generations. The tribe's relentless fight to protect in Huaorani culture. Revenge is far more than an impulse, it is a sacred duty, an unbreakable law woven into the fabric of tribal life. When blood is spilled, the pain does not fade with time, it festers, demanding justice through a brutal and relentless cycle. Each act of retaliation is a solemn ritual, carefully carried out to restore balance between families and clans. This violent dance of vengeance binds the tribe in a chain of honor and retribution that can stretch across generations. Every injury, every insult, every loss is etched into the tribe's collective memory. To leave a wrong unpunished is to invite chaos and disrespect. The demand for payback is not born from anger alone, it is a deep, burning need to protect family, to uphold personal and tribal honor above all else. This code forces warriors to sharpen their bows and prepare for battle, knowing that peace is fragile and fleeting. In the jungle's shadow, forgiveness rarely exists. Only the harsh truth of blood repaid with blood. These rituals of revenge are steeped in symbolism. The taking of a life is more than an act of violence. It is a sacred restoration, believed to cleanse the wounds inflicted on the tribe's spirit. Families prepare meticulously, performing ceremonies to honor ancestors and seek their blessing. Before striking, the emotional weight carried by each participant is immense. Fear, grief, and fierce loyalty all merge into a deadly resolve. These moments reveal the tribe's intense devotion to survival and unity, where every warrior stands not just for themselves, but for the memory of those who came before. In the heart of the Amazon, the Huaorani's survival depends on mastery of the hunt, where every arrow released carries not just deadly force, but centuries of tradition and spiritual meaning. Hunting is more than a means to feed the tribe. It is a sacred act, a ritual that demands respect for the forest and the unseen. Powers that dwell within it. The poisoned arrow stands at the center of this practice, a weapon forged from knowledge passed down through generations, blending lethal skill with deep spiritual connection. The preparation of these arrows is itself a ritual steeped in secrecy and reverence, the tribe harvests potent toxins from the jungle's most dangerous plants and animals, carefully extracting poison from dart frogs or curare vines. This process requires expert hands and unwavering focus. One mistake could turn a life-saving tool into a deadly hazard for the hunter. The poison is applied with precision to arrow tips crafted from hardened wood or bone, transforming a simple projectile into a weapon of silent death. Each arrow becomes a symbol of ancestral power, binding the hunter to the spirits of the forest. Before every hunt or battle, ceremonies are held to honor the natural forces and seek protection. Elders chant prayers while young warriors prepare, their weapons, their voices rising like the hum of the jungle itself. These rituals reinforce the sacred bond between the tribe and the wild, reminding hunters that they are part of a greater cycle of life and death. The arrows carry more than poison, they carry the hopes, fears, and blessings of the community. When released, a poisoned arrow strikes swiftly and without mercy. Its venom paralyzes prey or enemy alike, ensuring a quick end, but also serving as a spiritual tool that transfers the victim's life force back to the jungle. This connection between weapon and wilderness reveals the Huaorani's complex worldview where violence and respect intertwine. And survival demands a balance between human strength and nature's raw power. The poisoned arrow is not just a weapon, but a testament to the tribe's fierce dedication to their way of life. It embodies the thin line between life and death, honor and survival. What follows are even darker rituals, where the lines of humanity blur. In the tribe's most controversial acts, the sacred cannibalism that shocks outsiders but holds deep meaning within Huaorani belief. Among the Huaorani, cannibalism is not an act of mindless savagery, but a ritual woven tightly into the tribe's spiritual and social fabric. This practice, reserved mostly for enemies taken in battle, is surrounded by deep meaning and strict rules that govern when and how it occurs to outsiders. The idea of consuming human flesh evokes horror and disbelief, yet within Huaorani culture, it serves as a powerful rite, one that transforms violence into a sacred exchange between life, death, and power. When an enemy falls, the act of consuming their flesh is believed to transfer their strength and spirit to the tribe. It is a way to honor the defeated while also preventing their spirit from returning to harm the living. This ritual carries a chilling intensity. Each bite is charged with meaning, an assertion of dominance and protection. The tribe does not engage in this act lightly. It is a solemn ceremony that demands respect and reverence, not cruelty. Through cannibalism, the Huaorani confront the fears of death and the unknown, transforming them into a source of power and survival. The emotions surrounding these rites are complex and raw. Fear, grief, and defiance intermingle as participants wrestle with the weight of their actions. Elders guide the ceremonies, ensuring that tradition is upheld and that every step honors ancestors and spiritual laws. The ritual acts as a bridge between worlds, the living and the dead, the natural and the supernatural, reflecting a worldview where boundaries are fluid and life is cyclical. Cannibalism also serves as a warning, a cultural boundary that protects the tribe from outsiders and enemies. It reinforces group identity by defining who belongs and who threatens the community. This practice, while disturbing to many, is deeply rooted in the Huaorani's survival strategy, a fierce assertion of control over life and death in an unforgiving environment. Though this ritual challenges modern sensibilities, it reveals the profound ways the Huaorani interpret power, respect, and fear. It is a reminder that what seems barbaric from afar can hold sacred significance within a culture shaped by its harsh realities. Cut off from the outside world by thick jungle and fierce resolve, the Huaorani live in near total isolation, a world where invisible boundaries shape every interaction. These boundaries are not just physical, but woven into the tribe's very rituals and beliefs, designed to keep outsiders at bay and preserve the delicate balance of their culture. The Huaorani's mistrust runs deep, born from centuries of conflict, and the constant threat of invasion by strangers seeking to claim their land. Rituals serve as both shields and warnings, reinforcing this separation. The tribe's ceremonies often include chants and symbols meant to protect their territory spiritually, marking the forest as sacred and untouchable. Outsiders who cross these lines risk provoking the tribe's fierce defense, sometimes met with deadly force. This protective hostility is a survival instinct, a barrier against the loss of identity and the erosion of traditions that have sustained them for generations. The emotional cost of this isolation is profound. Cut off from the wider world, the Huaorani face loneliness and suspicion, even within their own tightly knit community. Every new face is met with caution, every unknown voice a possible threat. Yet this wariness also strengthens their bonds, creating a powerful sense of unity forged in shared hardship. Their fierce pride in their heritage fuels the determination to hold on to customs that others might see as outdated or brutal. But the world beyond the jungle is encroaching. Modern threats loom large. Oil companies, missionaries, and governments push against these invisible walls, forcing difficult choices on a people who value their independence above all. The struggle to maintain identity in the face of outside pressure is as intense as any battle fought with arrows or poison. The Huaorani's story is one of survival in every level: physical, cultural, and spiritual. The encroachment of the modern world casts a long shadow over the Huaorani's ancient way of life. Missionaries arrive with promises of salvation, all companies carve through the jungle in search of wealth, and governments impose laws that threaten the tribe's freedom. These outside forces force the Huaorani into impossible choices between clinging to centuries-old traditions and adapting to a world that does not understand them. The struggle is not just physical but spiritual, as every step toward modernity risks unraveling the rituals that define their identity. The sacred customs, once unquestioned pillars of community, now face skepticism and pressure to change. Practices like headhunting and revenge, seen by outsiders as barbaric, are challenged by new rules and beliefs brought by contact with the outside world. Yet, these rituals carry deep meaning for the Huaorani, binding them to ancestors and the forest itself. The tension between preserving this heritage and surviving modern threats creates fractures within the tribe, as younger generations grapple with competing visions of the future. Despite these pressures, the Huaorani show remarkable resilience. Many fight to protect their land and culture, using both ancient knowledge and new strategies to resist exploitation. Their fierce determination is a testament to a people who have survived millennia by adapting without losing the core of who they are. But the future remains uncertain. Each intrusion chips away at their isolation, and with it, the delicate balance that has sustained them. The Huaorani's story is a stark reminder of the fragility of indigenous cultures in a rapidly changing world. Their fight to preserve identity is ongoing, a battle between survival and extinction, between the wildness of the past and the demands of the present. The rituals that once defined their existence may soon face their greatest test. The Huli Wigmen, secrets of one of the world's most shocking tribal cultures in the misty highlands of Papua New Guinea, hidden from the eyes of the modern world. Live the Huli Wigmen, a tribe whose vibrant colors and fierce traditions defy easy understanding. Their faces blaze with bright yellow and red paint, their heads crowned with towering wigs crafted from human hair. These wigs, woven with feathers and adorned with intricate patterns, are not mere decoration. They are symbols of power, identity, and an unyielding connection to ancient customs. But behind this colorful display lies a culture shaped by both beauty and brutality. The Huli are bound by a strict code of honor that governs every part of Life and unspoken law enforced through rituals so intense they can shock even the most seasoned observers. Their world is one where respect is earned through displays of strength, and where conflict often leads to cycles of revenge that span generations. From the earliest age, boys are taught the importance of these traditions. Their very survival depends on mastering the arts of warfare and ceremony, becoming not only skilled fighters but also keepers of sacred knowledge. Each wig is a living testament to this journey, growing and changing alongside the man who wears it. It is a crown forged in sweat, battle, and unwavering loyalty. The Huli's remote isolation has preserved these rituals, allowing them to remain some of the most extreme and unyielding customs in the world today. The tribe's vibrant dances and painted faces might seem joyful at first glance, but they mask a landscape where violence and respect walk hand in hand. Every gesture, every color, every adornment carries meaning signals in a complex language of power and tradition. Yet these customs are not simply relics of the past. They are fiercely defended, passed down through generations as a source of pride and identity. The Huli Wigmen live in a delicate balance, where the line between celebration and danger is razor thin. In their world, rituals are more than ceremony, they are survival. Understanding the Huli means stepping into a realm where beauty and bloodshed are intertwined, where every wig tells a story of triumph and hardship. It is a world both mesmerizing and unsettling, revealing a tribe whose spirit remains untamed despite the encroaching tide of modern life. The towering wigs of the Huli men rise like fiery crowns against the lush green backdrop of the Papua New Guinea highlands. At first glance, these wigs captivate with their bright colors and elaborate designs. But each strand of hair and every feather holds a deeper meaning, a silent declaration of power and a warning of deadly intent. These are not mere ornaments. They are battle standards worn with fierce pride, crafted from human hair collected from relatives and allies. The wigs are carefully twisted and shaped over months, sometimes years. The process is sacred and grueling, demanding patience and precision. Bright yellow clay and red ochre stain the hair, while bird feathers, symbols of strength and courage, are painstakingly woven in. The result is a striking, almost otherworldly crown that marks a man's status and readiness to defend his clan. Beneath this artistry lies a brutal history. The wigs serve as badges for warriors, men who have proven themselves in battle or in the deadly practice of headhunting. Further, Huli, the taking of an enemy's head, is not only a show of strength, but a spiritual act meant to capture the foe's power. Each wig, then, becomes a silent storyteller, whispering of past conflicts and the harsh realities of survival. The ritual of wig-making is inseparable from masculinity in the tribe's violent code. Young men aspire to grow their wigs as symbols of maturity and courage, marking their transformation from boys into warriors. The wig's height and decoration reveal not just personal achievements, but also one's place in the clan hierarchy. When adorned in full regalia, the Huli warriors present a terrifying sight, a living emblem of ancestral rage and resilience. Their wigs are warnings. Behind the colors and feathers lies a readiness for battle, a readiness to defend honor with blood if necessary. In the Huli world, power is visible and loud, and the wigs are its most vivid expression. This fierce connection between beauty and brutality continues deeper in the tribe's social fabric, where revenge and justice are carried out through unyielding cycles of violence among the Huli. Revenge is not simply an emotional response. It is the very foundation of justice and social order. When a wrong is committed, whether a stolen pig, an insult, or worse, it sets in motion a chain of obligations that bind entire clans together in a relentless cycle of blood and retribution. Forgiveness is a rarity, and peace remains fragile and fleeting. These blood feuds can endure for years, sometimes decades, carried across generations as a sacred duty. Every family member is bound by tradition to avenge the honor of their kin. No matter the cost, the rituals surrounding revenge are precise and demanding, steeped in symbolism that reinforces loyalty and respect within the tribe. An insult left unavenged is a stain on a man's name and a challenge to the tribe's very survival. Punishments in these feuds are brutal. Attacks can involve not just death, but the capture of enemies' heads of grisly trophy men too. Display dominance and instill fear. The severed head is more than a symbol. It is believed to hold the spirit of the defeated, and taking it is thought to weaken the foe's power while strengthening the victor's. This practice, though horrifying to outsiders, carries deep spiritual weight in Huli culture. The stakes of these feuds reach far beyond individual lives. Entire villages can be drawn into conflict, with alliances shifting and growing as revenge demands escalate. Social ties are tested and reinforced through this violent justice, creating a complex web of obligations. To break this cycle would be to unravel the very fabric of the tribe's identity. In this world, loyalty is absolute and honor is everything. The cost of betrayal or cowardice is exile, shame, or death. The fear of losing face drives many to embrace violence not as choice, but as duty, a grim responsibility that shapes every action. The ever-present threat of revenge keeps the tribe in a constant state of readiness. Where peace is a brief and fragile moment between storms, this unyielding tradition of vengeance is not just a brutal history. It continues to define the Huli today, entwining their identity with cycles of violence that echo through time. Beyond the battles and feuds lies a deep spiritual connection, one that finds expression in the tribe's most haunting and sacred ceremonies. The vibrant body paint and intricate masks of the Huli Wigmen are far more than visual spectacle. They serve as powerful links between the living and the spirit world. In ceremonies thick with smoke and chanting, the painted skin and carved faces transform men into vessels for ancestral spirits, channeling forces both protective and fearsome. Every color, line, and pattern carries meaning that speaks to ancient beliefs rooted in the invisible. The pigments come from the earth, bright yellows from clay, deep reds from ochre, and blacks from charcoal, each chosen not only for its striking effect, but for its spiritual power. Painted across skin in bold, swirling patterns, the colors are believed to shield the wearer from harm, confusing enemies and spirits alike. The designs mimic the natural world, weaving symbols of animals and ancestors into a living tapestry of protection and connection. Masks, often fashioned from wood and decorated with feathers, fur, and paint, complete the transformation. Worn during rituals, they embody the spirits of ancestors or nature forces, turning men into supernatural beings for the duration of the ceremony. These masks are both revered and feared, as they represent powers beyond human control, guardians of the tribe's fate. The collision of the natural and supernatural is a constant in Huli life. The line between man and spirit blurs during these sacred moments, where the living seek guidance, strength, and protection from unseen realms. These rituals are charged with intense emotion, blending reverence with primal fear, as the tribe honors forces that govern life, death, and revenge. Through body painting and masks, the Huli confront the mysteries that shape their world, binding themselves to traditions that have survived centuries. This visual language speaks of a culture that embraces both beauty and terror, where spiritual power is worn as boldly as the colors on their skin. From this connection springs rituals that reveal the raw, sometimes brutal heart of the tribes. Beliefs, a heart that beats strongest in the ceremonies to come. In the world of the Huli Wigmen, taboos are invisible but unbreakable chains that govern nearly every aspect of daily life. These ancient rules are sacred boundaries, holding the tribe's social order intact and defining what is allowed and what is forbidden. Crossing these lines is not just a personal mistake. It threatens the entire community's balance and The consequences are swift and severe. Punishments for breaking taboos can be harsh and humiliating, designed not only to punish the offender but to send a warning to all. Exile is among the most feared a fate worse than death for a people whose strength lies in community. To be cast out means isolation in a harsh wilderness, stripped of protection and support. Left vulnerable to enemies and the unforgiving land. Ritual humiliation is another common form of justice. Offenders may be publicly shamed through forced displays, their bodies and spirits marked as warnings to others. These punishments can include the removal of sacred adornments, disfigurement of body, paint, or public confession of guilt acts that strip away dignity and honor. In a culture where reputation is everything, such disgrace can haunt a person for life. These extreme measures reveal how deeply the Huli cling to their customs. Every taboo reflects a belief rooted in survival and respect for forces, seen and unseen. They regulate interactions between clans, sacred rituals, and even daily behavior, shaping how the tribe navigates the dangers of both nature and human conflict. The weight of these rules is carried by all, from children learning obedience to elders, enforcing tradition. Breaking a taboo threatens not just the individual but the fragile web of alliances and respect that holds the tribe together. It is a reminder that in the Huli world, freedom is measured by how well one honors the past and how carefully one avoids its punishments. The Huli Wigmen stand at a crossroads where ancient tradition clashes with the unstoppable tide of modern change. Government efforts and outside influences increasingly challenge the violent customs that have shaped their identity for centuries. Laws ban practices like headhunting and blood feuds, pushing the tribe to reconsider what it means to live as Huli in today's world. For many within the tribe, these customs are more than rituals. They are the threads that bind generations together, the living pulse of their culture. Giving them up feels like losing a part of their soul, a surrender of the fierce pride that has kept their community strong in the face of isolation and hardship. Yet, the cost of holding on can be high, risking conflict with authorities and the breakdown of social order. Younger generations face conflicting pressures, the desire to honor their heritage while navigating new education, technology, and external expectations. Some embrace change cautiously, seeking ways to adapt traditions without erasing their meaning. Others resist fiercely, seeing the preservation of rituals as vital to survival. This tension creates a fragile balance, a silent struggle that defines daily life in the highlands. The question of identity grows sharper as the world encroaches. Can a culture rooted in violence and ancient rites survive without those very elements? Or will adaptation mean transformation so profound that the Huli they once knew fades into memory? This dilemma is not unique to the Huli but echoes in many indigenous communities facing similar battles. Their story is a powerful reminder that tradition is never static. It lives and breathes. Challenged and reshaped by time, the Huli Wigmens fight to preserve their customs speaks to the universal human struggle between change and continuity, between honoring the past and facing the future. It is a story of resilience, pride, and the heavy price exacted by the desire to survive on their own terms. As the ancient Wigs give way to new realities, the tribe's next chapter remains unwritten, caught between the vivid colors of tradition and the harsh light of a changing world. Hurrian Clans, unveiling the dark secrets of an ancient tribal world. Hurrian Clans thrived thousands of years ago in the rugged lands stretching across the Near East. A world both fierce and fragile, their name echoes through fragments of ancient tablets and myths, but their true story is buried deep beneath layers of time. What survives suggests a tribe whose identity was shaped by harsh survival and strange beliefs, a people both feared and misunderstood by their neighbors. These clans were warriors, but their strength was not only in battle. They were bound by rigid social rules that controlled every step of daily life. From birth, an individual's fate was entwined with mysterious customs that seemed harsh, even cruel. The Hurrians lived in close-knit groups, where loyalty was absolute and betrayal punished in ways that chilled the soul. Their rituals were not merely ceremonies, but acts that blurred the line between life and death. The sacred and the profane. The Hurrians believed the world was a fragile balance between chaos and order, and they held that the gods demanded costly devotion to maintain it. Spiritual rites could involve blood offerings and strange chants meant to call unseen forces. To outsiders, these practices appeared brutal, even terrifying. A dark mirror to their survival, power was rooted in control over the invisible realm. And the Hurrians' belief in spirits influenced their justice and punishment. Crime was not just against the clan, but against the divine order itself. The fear of curses and spiritual wrath shaped how people lived and died. Their society moved to the rhythm of ancient fears that reached beyond the grave. The shadows of the Hurrian past reveal a culture where every act had meaning and consequence, where survival meant submission to both earthly and otherworldly laws. These clans held secrets encoded in their rites, secrets that challenge modern understanding and demand a deeper look into their disturbing traditions. This glimpse into the world of the Hurrian Clans sets the stage to explore the extreme rites that forged their identity, rites that tested courage, loyalty, and the limits of human endurance. What followed were ceremonies that seared their place in history, marked by fire and blood, shaping a legacy both savage and sacred in the harsh world of the Hurrian clans. Becoming a man was not a simple passage of time. It was a brutal battle. Against pain, fear, and death itself, young boys faced rites of passage designed to strip away childhood and forge warriors ready to protect their people. These ceremonies were far from gentle. They demanded endurance beyond human limits and tested both body and spirit in ways that still shock the imagination. At the heart of these rituals was fire, both literal and symbolic. Flames flickered as the clans gathered in tense silence, watching as the initiate was pushed through searing trials, burning coals pressed against skin, flesh pierced by sharp stones. And hours spent in chilling isolation marked the beginning of a terrifying transformation. Pain was not punishment, but a sacred bridge, a necessary torment to prove strength and loyalty. Solitude played a cruel role, isolated from family and community. The young man was forced to confront his deepest fears. Alone in the wilderness or dark chambers, he faced silence and shadows, sometimes haunted by whispered chants believed to call restless spirits. This isolation was both mental and physical torture. A crucible where courage was hammered into iron will. Symbolic sacrifices sealed the ritual. Sometimes animals were offered, their blood spilled to appease gods and spirits, marking the boy's passage into manhood in rarer, more extreme cases. Personal wounds or scars were seen as badges of honor, evidence of a warrior reborn. These acts bound the initiate to the clan's history, connecting him to ancestors whose strength echoed in every painful moment. The rite was a terrifying blend of fear and reverence. It was a violent rebirth, a necessary destruction of innocence. To create the clan's defenders, to survive this trial was to gain more than a new name. It was to carry the weight of the Hurrian legacy itself. The scars and stories born here would define the man's life and place within the tribe's brutal hierarchy. This fierce hunt for manhood reveals the brutal heartbeat of Hurrian culture. A world where pain was the price of belonging and fire, the path to power. The shadows of these rites cast long over the clan's laws, punishments, and unyielding beliefs. In the unforgiving world of the Hurrian clans, punishment was not merely a matter of physical pain or exile. Justice stretched beyond the grave, reaching deep into the supernatural realm where gods and spirits held absolute power over the living and the dead. Offenders faced not only brutal earthly consequences, but also eternal torment, bound by curses crafted to haunt their souls for generations. These curses were woven with dark intent, inscribed on tablets or spoken aloud in solemn rituals that called upon fierce gods and restless demons. Once unleashed, the curse became a living shadow, a relentless force that followed the guilty wherever they went. It was believed that no sin could escape divine reckoning, a torment that could linger beyond death, seeping into the world of spirits and shaping the fate of descendants. The power of these curses lay in their permanence, and like wounds that could heal or chains that could break, a curse etched by the Hurrians was meant to endure forever. Families were haunted not just by shame, but by fear of ancestral wrath, as curses were thought to carry through bloodlines, turning kin against one another and ensuring that no crime went unpunished. Physical punishments, when imposed, were severe: mutilations, public shaming, or death. Yet these were only the beginning. The true terror was the curse that followed, twisting fate and luck, bringing misfortune, madness, or disease. These spiritual punishments kept the tribe in order, their fear of unseen retribution binding them tighter than any chain. The Hurrians viewed their world as a delicate balance maintained by obeying laws that were as much spiritual as social. Breaking these laws invited wrath from gods who were merciless and jealous. The concept of eternal punishment underscored a harsh reality. Lawbreaking was an attack not just on society, but on cosmic order. Dur itself, this fusion of justice and the supernatural, reveals the depths of Hurrian belief. A world where life, death, and the afterlife were inseparable. To live in fear of curses was to accept the clan's iron rule, a chilling reminder that no one could escape the consequences of their deeds in this life or the next. As the story of the Hurrian clans unfolds, their terrifying rituals of justice led inevitably into even darker practices, acts where life and death, body and spirit, blur in ways that challenge all notions of humanity. Among the most disturbing and enigmatic practices of the Hurrian clans was the ritual of sacred cannibalism, a belief and act that blurred the boundaries between death, power, and the divine. Far from desperation or survival, this practice held deep spiritual meaning, rooted in the conviction that consuming the flesh of enemies, all honored ancestors could transfer their strength and maintain the fragile balance of the cosmos. The act itself was shrouded in solemnity and fear. Portions of defeated foes, sometimes warriors famed for their courage or leaders feared for their power, were ritually consumed during sacred ceremonies. This consumption was not a mere act of dominance, but a spiritual absorption, a way to claim the enemy's spirit and prevent it from lingering as a threat. By devouring their flesh, the Hurrians believed they absorbed the fallen's courage, wisdom, or divine favor. In some cases, this ritual extended to the clan's undead, particularly revered elders or shamans. Eating the remains of these ancestors was seen as a sacred communion, a way to keep their power alive within the living. The feast was more than physical nourishment. It was a cosmic act meant to link past and present, the material and the spiritual, binding the community across time. This practice unsettles modern sensibilities, challenging contemporary ideas about life, death, and respect for the body. Yet for the Hurrians, sacred cannibalism was an essential part of their belief system, a powerful ritual that ensured the survival not only of the body, but of the soul and the clan's cosmic order. The divine feast was surrounded by precise rites and taboos. Only certain parts could be consumed, and the ceremonies were led by priests who invoked gods and spirits to bless the act. Breaking these rules was seen as a grave offense, risking not only spiritual wrath but the collapse of the community's delicate balance. Sacred cannibalism stands as a haunting testament to the extremes of Hurrian spirituality. where death was not an end but a transformation. It reveals a world where power, fear, and faith intertwined in ways that defy modern judgment, but hold deep meaning within their ancient context. This dark communion with death points toward the Hurrian's fears and beliefs about the mind and spirit, a realm where madness and possession often shadowed the living, shaping rituals and punishments that were as terrifying as they were profound. In Hurrian society, madness was never seen as a simple illness. It was a visible mark of divine punishment, all possession by restless spirits, an unbearable curse that threatened both the individual and the clan. Those suffering from madness were feared and isolated, believed to be vessels for dark forces, seeking to unravel the fragile balance between the living and the supernatural. The afflicted were often subjected to terrifying cleansing rituals. Isolation was the first punishment removed from family and community. They were confined in dark spaces, sometimes caves or hidden huts, far from human contact. This separation was both a protection for others and a trial for the possessed, forcing them into silence and despair. Physical restraints were commonly used to control the madness. Bound tightly with cords or wooden stocks, the victims struggled against invisible demons, their bodies racked with convulsions and uncontrolled movements. These restraints were not merely to contain but to prevent the spread of evil, reflecting the belief that madness could contaminate those nearby. Exorcisms formed the heart of the cure violent. Intense ceremonies designed to expel the invading spirit. Priests invoked gods and chanted prayers, sometimes using loud drums, fire, or harsh blows to drive out the unseen presence. The rituals were harsh and unrelenting, a desperate battle to reclaim the soul of the mad and restore order to the clan. This blurred the lines between spiritual affliction and mental health in a way that could be cruel and unforgiving. Madness was more than a personal tragedy, it was a cosmic crisis threatening the entire community. The Hurrian's approach to mental illness reveals a culture where fear of the unknown ruled, and the supernatural was inseparable from the very real suffering of the mind. These harsh beliefs and rituals illuminate the fragile and often terrifying world the Hurrians inhabited, where invisible forces shaped every life. The fear of madness and possession echoes through their laws and customs. Preparing the way for the final journey, all faced the terrifying rites of death and the afterlife for the Hurrian clans. Death was not an end but the beginning of a terrifying voyage into shadowed realms ruled by cruel and jealous gods. The soul, upon leaving the body, faced a world filled with dangers far worse than earthly threats, places where malevolent spirits waited to trap or torment the dead for all eternity. This belief shaped every funeral, every prayer, and every warning carved into stone. Elaborate funerary rituals were designed to protect the soul and guide it safely through this dark afterlife. Offerings of food, drink, and valuable goods were laid beside the dead, meant to appease restless spirits and buy favor from gods who could grant passage or punishment. These gifts were vital. Without them, the soul was believed to wander endlessly, caught between worlds. Symbolic sacrifices often accompanied burial rites. Sometimes animals or precious objects were destroyed to seal the boundary between life and death. These acts were more than ceremony, they were desperate attempts to maintain cosmic order and prevent the dead from rising to haunt the living. The Hurrians also held strict warnings against disturbing graves. Tombs were sacred, and violating them invited curses and eternal wrath. The fear of restless dead haunting the clan was profound, and laws protected burial sites with the same rigor as living villages. This obsession with controlling death's aftermath revealed a culture gripped by fear and reverence for forces beyond human control. Life was fragile, but the afterlife was a battleground where survival required more than bravery. It demanded careful adherence to ancient rites and respect for the unseen powers that governed existence. Beyond the grave, the journey beyond death completed the cycle of Hurrian belief, tying their rituals of life and punishment to a cosmic order where every action echoed forever, and where the darkest fears lived on beyond the final breath. Iban Tribe, secrets of brutal rituals and fierce traditions in Borneo's jungle deep within the vast, shadowed rainforests of Borneo. The Iban Tribe has thrived for centuries. Shaped by a world where survival demanded fierce strength and unyielding courage. These warriors carved their existence from the dense jungle territory, both protector and prisoner. Theirs is a culture woven from the threads of ancient customs, some so extreme they chill the soul. Their history carries whispers of blood and honor, of a people who once stalked the canopy with a terrifying purpose, headhunting. The Iban's name echoes across Borneo, often linked with a brutal past that outsiders struggle to understand. For the Iban, headhunting was not mere violence, but a sacred act, a ritual that connected the living with the spirits of the fallen. Every severed head told a story of power gained and enemies humbled, a symbol of the tribe's strength and divine protection. These acts, harsh to the untrained eye, were deeply spiritual, a way to hold evil at bay and ensure the community's survival. Their world is shaped by a complex code of honor, binding each member to traditions older than memory. The Longhouse, a sprawling communal home, stands as the heart of Iban society. Within its wooden walls, generations live side by side, sharing not just space, but a destiny defined by loyalty and fierce pride. In this close-knit society, every ritual is a test of identity, some peaceful, others harrowing beyond measure. The jungle's constant presence is a reminder of nature's power and the tribe's fragile place within. It is here, amid tangled vines and ancient trees, that the Iban's most extreme beliefs took root, beliefs that still echo in the voices of today's elders. Theirs is a world where death and life intertwine in rituals that can shock and unsettle, yet are vital threads in the fabric of their culture. This chapter peels back the layers of mystery surrounding the Iban, exposing the raw and filtered reality behind their warrior spirit. From these roots grow the tribe's disturbing customs, dark, powerful, and utterly unique. Their story is not simply one of violence, but of a people bound to the unseen forces that shape their lives. Rituals born of fear, respect, and survival dot as the jungle shadows deepen. The next chapter reveals the haunting ceremonies behind the Iban's headhunting past, how these acts of terror were transformed into rituals of sacred power, forever marking the tribe's identity and legacy. For the Iban, headhunting was far more than a violent act of war. It was a sacred ritual that shaped the very core of their identity. Each enemy's head taken was believed to hold a powerful spirit, his soul captured and bound to the tribe's protection. This gruesome trophy was not simply a symbol of conquest, but a vital source of strength and spiritual energy, believed to guard the community against evil forces lurking in the dark jungle. The act of taking a head demanded precision and ceremony. Warriors prepared with chants and offerings, seeking favor from the gods and ancestors. When the head was finally taken, it was more than a mere object. It became a living relic. The skull was cleaned, adorned with intricate carvings or beads, and carefully preserved to honor the spirit it contained. These heads were displayed in the Longhouse, hanging from the rafters like silent sentinels guarding the tribe's honor. This chilling display served both as a warning and a reminder of the tribe's power. The presence of severed heads reinforced the sacred pact between the living and the dead, a pact believed to bring prosperity, protection, and fertility to the community. Any neglect of these trophies was thought to invite misfortune or spiritual imbalance, making their care a solemn responsibility. The blood rituals surrounding headhunting were as intense as they were terrifying. Feasts marked the return of warriors, where blood was offered to the ancestors through symbolic ceremonies. These acts connected the tribe with forces beyond the physical world, a dance between life, death, and the unseen spirits that governed their fate. The line between reverence and brutality blurred, revealing a culture where survival depended on embracing both. In this brutal tradition, the Iban's beliefs intertwined with violence and spirituality, creating a powerful system of meaning and identity. The head-hunting ritual was a force that shaped the tribe's history and psyche, a dark legacy that would ripple through every aspect of their culture, from these blood-soaked ceremonies. The next chapter will explore how the Iban enforced order and justice within their community, where punishment and ritual blended to maintain a fragile social balance. The Longhouse stood as the beating heart of the Iban tribe, a sprawling wooden structure housing dozens of families under one roof. More than just a home, it was the stage where every aspect of social life unfolded, from celebration to discipline. Here, law and order were enforced with unyielding rigor, ensuring that the delicate balance of the community remained unbroken. Breaking tribal codes was not taken lightly. Theft, betrayal, or any act of disrespect threatened not only the offender but the entire group's harmony. Punishments were swift, severe, and often public, meant to deter others from crossing the lines drawn by ancient custom. Justice in the Longhouse was not administered by distant courts, but by the collective will of the tribe, grounded in ritual and tradition. One of the most dreaded forms of punishment was ritual humiliation. Offenders could be paraded before the entire Longhouse, their shame laid bare for all to witness. This public exposure was a powerful weapon, stripping away honor, the foundation of Iban identity, and reminding everyone that social respect was earned and fiercely protected. Physical punishments could be brutal: whippings, forced labor, or even scars carved into the skin served as lasting marks of transgression. These acts were more than pain. They were symbols, binding the individual to the tribe's rules in blood and flesh. The pain carried a message. The community's survival depended on unity, obedience, and respect. At the center of these punishments was the ritual itself. Each act of discipline was steeped in symbolism, performed with chants and gestures meant to cleanse the wrongdoing and restore balance. The Longhouse elders, guardians of tradition, carried the heavy burden of judgment, ensuring that punishment was both just and a spiritual act. The consequences of breaking a ban reached beyond the physical. Social exile or loss of privileges could isolate an offender, cutting them off from vital communal support. In a society so closely knit, such rejection could be as devastating as any wound. Within the walls of the Longhouse, order was maintained through fear, respect, and deeply rooted customs. These harsh punishments reflected the tribe's need for stability in a dangerous and unpredictable world. The Iban world is not confined to the jungle's tangled roots or the Longhouse's wooden beams. It stretches into realms unseen, where spirits roam and ancient forces shape every breath. At the heart of this spiritual landscape stands the shaman, a figure both feared and revered, acting as a bridge between the living and the dead. These shamans wield power that defies logic, guiding the tribe through ceremonies that blur the line between reality and the otherworldly. During certain rituals, shamans enter trance-like states, their bodies convulsing as unseen forces take hold. This possession is no simple performance. It is a violent, raw experience that demands sacrifice of the self. Eyes roll back, voices shift, and movements become erratic signs that the spirit world has claimed the shaman's vessel. Such behavior, terrifying to outsiders, is embraced by the Iban as necessary for communication with ancestors and protective spirits. The trance is both a blessing and a curse. It opens a channel to the supernatural but leaves the shaman vulnerable to madness and physical harm. In some ceremonies, possession can last hours or days, during which the shaman may inflict wounds on their own body or lash out violently, actions believed to expel evil or retrieve lost souls. These extremes of ritual madness reveal a culture that accepts suffering and chaos as sacred tools in the battle between good and evil. The community watches with a mix of awe and fear, knowing that the shaman's pain is the tribe's protection. These spirit possession rites are believed to cleanse the land, heal the sick, and ensure fertility. Yet beneath the spiritual purpose lies a darker truth: the unpredictable nature of possession mix. Shamans unpredictable forces themselves, living on the edge of control and chaos. This delicate dance with madness is a reflection of the Iban's broader worldview, a place where the material and spiritual worlds intertwine so closely that madness becomes a doorway to truth. The rituals expose a raw and unsettling side of human belief, where violence and vulnerability coexist in a sacred rite of passage from this blurred boundary between worlds. The next chapter will explore the rites surrounding marriage and death, extreme customs that bind life and loss in the Iban's unyielding traditions. Marriage and death in Iban culture are far more than personal milestones. They are powerful ceremonies that bind individuals to the tribe and the spirit world through intense, often shocking rituals. These rites mark profound transitions, each layered with symbolism that reaches beyond life itself, demanding endurance, sacrifice, and unwavering faith. Marriage among the Iban is not simply a union of two people, but a merging of families and ancestral lines. Ceremonies often involve tests of strength and courage, reflecting the belief that a successful marriage requires resilience to withstand life's hardships, in some cases symbolic. Sacrifices such as the offering of animals or even acts of physical endurance are made to invoke blessings and protection. These extreme gestures demonstrate commitment not only to each other but to the tribe's spiritual balance. The bride and groom face rituals that connect them to their ancestors and the natural world, affirming their place within a cycle that is both fragile and eternal. The intense emotional weight of these ceremonies reinforces the seriousness with which the Iban approach life's most sacred bonds. Death rituals, by contrast, focus on ensuring the safe passage for the departed soul into the afterlife. Funerals can last days, involving elaborate rites that appease spirits and protect the living from harm. The body may be adorned with symbolic carvings or offerings, reflecting the belief that physical preparation aids the spirit's journey. Any failure in these rites risks spiritual unrest, an idea that fuels the community's meticulous care and deep reverence for the dead. The Iban see death not as an end, but as a transformation, a passage into a realm where ancestors watch over the living. The rituals surrounding death are charged with emotion, grief intertwined with hope, fear balanced by faith. The tribe's elaborate ceremonies demonstrate a profound respect for this passage. Even when the acts involved appear severe or unsettling, these extreme traditions of binding and farewell reveal a culture deeply connected to both the physical and spiritual worlds. They serve as a powerful reminder of the Iban's enduring belief in the ties that hold life, death, and community together. From these intense ceremonies, the story moves toward the present, exploring how the Iban's legacy endures amid modern challenges and shifting times. Amid the relentless march of modernity, the Iban tribe stands as a living testament to resilience and adaptation. Their brutal, mysterious rituals, once the foundation of survival in the dense Borneo rainforest, persist, not as relics frozen in time, but as evolving practices that bridge past and present. The jungle may have thinned, and outside influences pressed in, yet the Iban identity remains fiercely intact, anchored in traditions that still stir both respect and fear. In villages and longhouses, ceremonies continue, though often reshaped by changing beliefs and practical realities. The haunting rituals of head hunting have faded into memory, replaced by symbolic acts that honor ancestors without bloodshed. Yet the spiritual connection to the unseen world endures, and the sacred stories passed down through generations remain vibrant and essential. This delicate balance between preservation and change speaks to the tribe's deep understanding of survival, not just of the body, but of culture itself. The Iban have navigated external pressures with a determined spirit, choosing which customs to carry forward and which to leave behind. Their rituals, once terrifying to outsiders, now attract fascination and scholarly interest, shining a light on a people who lived on the edge of wilderness and the supernatural. The legacy of the Iban is more than a record of extreme rites. It is a powerful narrative of identity, endurance, and transformation. Their story challenges modern assumptions about progress and tradition, revealing a culture that continues to thrive by honoring its roots while embracing change. As the jungle's shadows lengthen into the future, the ancient heartbeat of the Iban pulses, still calling to those who seek to understand the depths of human belief and the raw power of ritual. Inuit secrets, the dark and shocking rituals of the Arctic's forgotten hunters in the vast, frozen expanse of the Arctic, where the sun hides for months and the cold bites with unforgiving force. The Inuit have carved out a life defined by endurance and mystery. Here, every breath is a battle, every step a risk, and survival depends on an intimate knowledge of the icy wilderness. But beyond the stark landscape lies a culture shaped not only by nature's cruelty, but by a world of shadows and spirits that govern every part of existence. The Inuit see their environment as alive with unseen forces. The wind is not just a breeze. It carries the voices of ancestors. The snow is not just cold. It hides spirits watching silently. In this unforgiving world, respect and fear intertwine, shaping customs that appear bizarre, even terrifying to outsiders. These are not simple traditions, they are vital rituals, born from a deep need to live in harmony with powers that might snatch life away without warning. Among the Inuit, survival is as much about obeying invisible rules as it is about hunting seals or navigating ice flows. Social norms are strict, but their foundation is more than order. It is a balance between the living and the dead, the human and the supernatural. Elders speak of the soul's fragility, warning that disrespect can unleash curses or spiritual punishment. Every act, every word, carries weight in this fragile dance. Striking is the way the Inuit incorporate harshness into their daily lives. Endurance is not merely physical, it is spiritual. Rituals to calm angry spirits or to guide lost souls reveal a world where death never feels far away. Fear is a constant companion, pushing individuals to obey codes born from generations of hardship and loss. The eerie stories whispered through long Arctic nights tell of shamans who journeyed beyond the veil, battling unseen enemies to protect their people. They speak of punishments that are swift and final exile to frozen wastelands, where survival is impossible without the tribe's support. Such extreme measures are not just about justice, but about survival itself. This frozen society's secrets lie buried beneath layers of ice and silence, yet they pulse with a raw, haunting energy. The Inuit world is a fragile thread stretched tight between life and death, between the tangible and the spectral. Understanding their beliefs means stepping into a realm where reality blurs and the impossible feels close beneath the endless white sky. The Inuit live with the constant presence of spirit souls of the dead who refuse to rest and wander close to the living. These spirits are not distant memories but active forces, capable of bending fate and casting shadows over the tribe's future. Their influence is real, often dangerous, and the Inuit have developed chilling rituals to protect themselves from these unseen threats. One of the most feared dangers is the malevolent ghost, a restless soul trapped between worlds, hungry for a life of vengeance. The Inuit believe such spirits can steal a person's soul, leaving the body hollow and helpless, a fate worse than death. To fight back, shamans and hunters engage in soul hunting, a dark practice that reaches into the spiritual realm to capture these lost souls before they bring harm. Soul hunting is a ritual both terrifying and sacred. Shamans enter trance-like states, their bodies trembling as they journey through the invisible world. They track spirits by falling cold spots or sudden silences in the wind signs that a ghost is near. Once found, the shaman uses tools like bones or carved amulets to trap the spirit, binding it so it cannot harm the living. The ritual is dangerous. Failure means the spirit might turn on the hunter, dragging them into the cold abyss. Another grim practice is soul trapping, designed to protect the tribe itself. The Inuit create protective charms and perform ceremonies to seal off places where spirits are believed to linger: empty cabins, frozen lakes, or abandoned campsites. These rituals often involve burning animal fat or chanting ancient words, believed to confuse or repel ghosts. The goal is to keep the spiritual world at bay, preserving a fragile peace. These rituals reveal the Inuits' deep fear of the invisible. A world ruled not by physical laws but by ancient, unpredictable forces. The spirits are neither good nor evil but wild, restless energies that demand respect and control. Every chant, every amulet is a fragile shield against the chaos beyond sight. In the frozen wastelands where life is fragile and every mistake can mean death, the Inuit maintain social order with punishments as merciless as the Arctic winds. Here, justice is not about mercy or forgiveness, but about survival. When a member threatens the tribe's delicate balance, harsh consequences follow, meant to protect the many by punishing the few with an icy finality. Exile is the most feared sentence. To be cast out alone into the barren cold is a slow death. Sentence: the condemned is left to wander endless ice fields, where starvation, frostbite, and the howling wind become relentless executioners. Exile is not just punishment. It is a method of removing danger from the community. The isolated Arctic offers no mercy, and those banished face a death harsher than any weapon. Beyond exile, ritualized shaming serves as another powerful tool of control. Public humiliation is carefully woven into social life, often marked by symbolic acts meant to isolate and disgrace. A stolen seal or a broken taboo might result in the offender's name being cursed there. Possessions destroyed. This form of punishment cuts deeper than physical pain. It fractures trust, a critical element in a world where cooperation means survival. The Inuit also practice strict rules about resource sharing. Those who hoard or deceive risk severe social penalties, as selfishness threatens the entire tribe in some cases. Elders may strip offenders of their rights to hunt or participate in communal meals, pushing them to the edge of starvation without formal exile. This silent punishment is a reminder that community loyalty outweighs individual desire. Every punishment carries a weight beyond its immediate effect. It sends a chilling message. In the Arctic, survival is a collective effort, and any threat to this fragile balance is met with cruelty as unforgiving as the ice itself. Harsh justice is a necessary evil, a brutal safeguard against chaos and death. In Inuit society, family and community form the very core of survival. Each member is bound by deep ties woven through shared hardship, trust, and reliance on one another. Yet, when betrayal strikes, whether through deceit, theft, or breaking sacred rules, the consequences are severe enough to shatter even the strongest blood bonds. In a world where every hand counts, such ruptures threaten not only individuals but the fragile harmony of the entire tribe. One of the harshest punishments for betrayal is the cutting of ties, a deliberate severing of all connection with the offender. This is more than social rejection. It is a form of living death. The betrayed are abandoned not just emotionally but practically. losing access to food, shelter, and protection. To be cut off is to be cast into isolation, stripped of identity and safety in an environment where no one survives alone for long. Banishment is a cruel extension of this severance. Unlike exile imposed by the wider tribe, banishment often comes from within family lines. Offenders may be forced to leave their kin behind, wandering the frozen wastes with nothing but the clothes on their back. In the Arctic, such abandonment is near certain death, a punishment harsher than any physical blow. It serves as a grim warning. Loyalty to family and tribe is not optional, it is survival itself. In some cases, the Inuit turn to rituals that cross the boundary between justice and death. When betrayal threatens the community's very existence, lethal rites are enacted to remove the threat permanently. These acts are shrouded in solemn ceremony, where survival overrides sentiment. The icy silence that follows is a haunting reminder of the brutal choices demanded by life on the edge. The emotional scars left by these punishments ripple through the tribe, stirring fear and deep mistrust. Yet they are accepted as necessary evils, harsh reflections of the world. The Inuit inhabit a place where family is everything. But betrayal means the end dot in the relentless grip of the Arctic. Becoming an adult is not marked by celebration, but by a grueling test of survival, endurance, and spirit. The Inuit rites of passage are harsh rituals designed to strip away childhood and forge a person ready to face the brutal world beyond. These ceremonies are as much a trial of will as they are a transformation demanding pain, isolation, and a confrontation with the unseen forces that govern life and death. Central to this passage is the acceptance that strength is survival. Young initiates must endure cold that bites deeper than skin, often spending days alone in icy isolation, with only their thoughts and the harsh wilderness as companions. This solitude is not mere punishment, but a spiritual trial, an encounter with the spirits that watch and judge from beyond. Failure to withstand this ordeal means being cast out from the tribe's trust and protection. Is social death more feared than the physical? Pain is a constant companion in these rites. Self-inflicted wounds or scarification mark the body as a testament to endurance and commitment. These painful symbols are not just physical but spiritual proof of readiness to carry the tribe's burdens and secrets. The young must also participate in rituals involving fasting or enduring extreme cold without shelter, pushing the limits of human resilience. The journey to adulthood is tightly linked to the community's belief in spiritual balance. Shamans play a vital role, guiding initiates through visions and ceremonies that connect them to ancestors and the spirit world. These encounters are intense, sometimes terrifying, as they reveal the fragile thread that holds life together and the invisible forces that can sever it. Success means acceptance, respect, and the right to hunt, marry, and carry the tribe's legacy. Failure means exile, shame, or lifelong suspicion marks that forever set a person apart. The rite is a brutal reminder that in the Arctic, adulthood is earned through pain and endurance, not birthright. This painful passage echoes the harshness of the environment itself, a world where only the strongest survive. Death in the Arctic is a silent shadow that looms constantly, feared as both an end and a beginning among the Inuit. It is wrapped in rituals designed to guard the living from the restless dead and to guide the departed safely into the next world. These customs reveal a culture gripped by the need to control what lies beyond, confronting death not as a final surrender, but as a dangerous passage that demands vigilance. The treatment of the body is a careful balance of respect and protection. The dead are often buried in shallow graves or placed on elevated platforms, away from the living. This separation is meant to prevent the spirit from returning to haunt or harm the community. Sometimes, personal belongings are buried or burned, with the body to ensure the soul does not linger, tied to earthly possessions or memories. Beliefs about the afterlife are as chilling as the Arctic night. The Inuit envision the spirit world as a mirror of their own, or a place where souls must navigate frozen landscapes and avoid dangerous entities if the deceased is weak or restless. Their spirit risks becoming a wandering ghost, capable of causing illness or misfortune among the living. This fear drives elaborate ceremonies aimed at securing peace for both sides. One such practice involves the shaman's final journey, a ritual to guide the soul through the icy veil. The shaman's chants and offerings are intended to protect the community from malevolent spirits and to help the dead find their way. Failure in this ritual could mean endless wandering, a fate that haunts Inuit folklore and fuels a deep cultural fear of restless dead. Death, then, is not an end, but a perilous crossing, where the living must act to protect themselves from the unknown. The Arctic silence is broken by these rituals, echoing a desperate attempt to tame what cannot be seen or controlled. Jarawa Tribe, dark secrets of an isolated world deep within the tangled, shadowed heart of the Andaman Islands. The Jarawa Tribe survives where few dare to tread. This isolated people have carved out a life in one of the world's last untouched rainforests, a realm where the sun's rays barely touch the ground and every rustle in the underbrush whispers a secret. For centuries, the Jarawa have fiercely protected their territory from outsiders, their presence a living link to an ancient time, untouched by the outside world's rapid pace. The dense jungle is not merely a home, but a fortress tangled maze where survival depends on intimate knowledge of every tree, every trail, every hidden stream. The Jarawa's survival tactics are shaped by this harsh environment, where food is scarce and danger lurks in every shadow. Their hunters move silently, blending with the wild, armed with bows and arrows tipped with poison. Each hunt is not just a means to eat, but a sacred ritual, a dance with nature's raw and brutal forces. This tribe's customs are cloaked in mystery and taboo, often misunderstood or feared by those who glimpse their world from afar. Body markings, crafted through painful scarification, tell stories of identity and endurance. These marks are not mere decoration, but a testament to resilience, a language written on skin, conveying history, strength, and social bonds. The Jarawa's resistance to contact is not born of hostility alone, but a deep-rooted will to preserve a fragile way of life that outsiders could easily destroy. Anthropologists and explorers who have encountered the Jarawa speak of bewildering customs, rituals where pain and endurance mark the passage from childhood to adulthood, and spiritual beliefs that intertwine with every breath they take. These beliefs shape not only how the Jarawa live, but how they understand life and death. Their world is one where spirits roam as freely as the animals, where breaking taboo can mean exile or worse. Despite the jungle's protective veil, the Jarawa's way of life faces relentless threats. Modern roads and encroaching settlements cut through their forest, bringing outsiders whose ways clash violently with the tribe's ancient codes. The Jarawa stand as guardians of a forgotten world, caught between survival and extinction. Their secrets as wild and impenetrable as the jungle they call home. What lies beyond this veil of isolation reveals rituals that shock and challenge the very idea of civilization, a journey into the heart of cultural extremes that will soon come to light. In the world of the Jarawa, loyalty and strength are not given, they are earned through rites carved in pain and endurance. These ancient ceremonies mark the passage from boyhood into the ranks of true tribe members, forging bonds stronger than blood. The trials are brutal, designed to test every fiber of a young man's will, demanding not just courage but a surrender to the tribe's unyielding code. One of the most striking rituals involves the art of scarification. Sharp thorns or bone fragments are pressed deep into the skin, leaving jagged marks that bleed and sting. These scars are not merely wounds, but symbols etched in flesh, proof of survival and devotion. The pain is not for cruelty's sake, but a sacred offering, a connection to ancestral spirits who watch and judge from the shadows. Each mark tells a story, a silent oath to the tribe's traditions and laws. Entrance takes many forms. Some young Jarawa must withstand nights alone in the forest, their senses heightened to every whisper and rustle, their bodies battling hunger and cold. Others face challenges that push them to the brink, long hunts without rest, swimming through sharp coral reefs or standing barefoot on burning earth. These trials strip away doubt and fear, leaving behind only the fierce loyalty that binds the tribe together. The spiritual weight of these rites is immense. Success brings honor and acceptance. Failure means exclusion, a fate worse than death. In a society where belonging is survival, these ceremonies reinforce the tribe's social order, creating a hierarchy based on proven strength and unwavering commitment. Every member knows the cost of loyalty, and every scar worn is a badge of belonging to outsiders. These customs may seem harsh, even barbaric, yet within the Jarawa's world, they are the foundation of life itself, rituals that hold the tribe's fragile harmony intact. As the tribe moves through the shadows of the forest, these bonds of blood and pain are what keep their ancient culture alive, fiercely guarded against the relentless tide of change. The strength forged in these rites soon faces a harsher test. The tribe's brutal system of justice and punishment in the Jarawa's hidden world. Breaking the tribe's laws is met with punishments as fierce and unyielding as the jungle itself. Justice here is swift and absolute, designed to protect the fragile balance of life within isolation. Every rule carries weight, and every violation echoes through the forest like a warning, a harsh reminder that survival depends on what earned obedience. Public shaming is among the most dreaded punishments. Offenders are exposed before the tribe, their failures laid bare under the watchful eyes of their community. This humiliation goes beyond embarrassment. It cuts deep into the spirit, threatening one's place in the tightly woven social fabric. In a society where belonging is survival, being cast out even temporarily can mean facing the wilderness alone, a fate many fear more than death. Physical penalties are harsher still. Beatings with heavy wooden sticks or lashings from thorny vines leave wounds that serve as both punishment and warning. These acts are brutal but precise, meant to inflict pain without permanent damage, reinforcing lessons through suffering. Some punishments involve forced labor, where offenders must carry heavy burdens or toil endlessly in the forest, exhausting body and mind alike. In the most extreme cases, exile becomes the final sentence. To be cast out is to be severed from the tribe's protection and provisions, left to face the unforgiving jungle alone. Few survive this punishment, and few return. The threat of exile hangs like a dark shadow over every member, a chilling deterrent against breaking the rules. Underlying these punishments is a deep spiritual belief that disorder invites disaster. The tribe sees lawbreaking as a disturbance, not just to social order, but to the balance between the living and the spirits that guide them. Maintaining harmony is a sacred duty, and harsh penalties are necessary to preserve it. This system of justice binds the tribe with fear and respect, ensuring that the fragile unity of the Jarawa remains unbroken. But the true power of their beliefs lies not only in punishment, but in the invisible chains of taboo that govern every thought and action. The Jarawa live in a world ruled by invisible boundaries, taboos so strict that crossing them threat not only individuals but the entire tribe. These unwritten laws govern every step, every word, and every breath, weaving a complex web of fear and reverence that shapes how the tribe understands life and death. For the Jarawa, the natural and supernatural worlds are inseparable, bound together by rituals that both protect and control. Certain animals, plants, and places carry sacred power, forbidden to touch or even approach without permission from the elders. To violate these sacred spaces is to invite disaster, illness, death, or the wrath of spirits that lurk unseen in the jungle's shadows. The tribe's hunters and gatherers move carefully, aware that every action could disrupt the delicate balance that keeps them alive. Even the act of speaking about some subjects is taboo, words swallowed in silence to avoid angering unseen forces. Death itself is surrounded by strict rituals, designed to keep restless spirits at bay. The Jarawa believe that the dead walk alongside the living, watching, judging, and punishing those who stray from the path. Funerary rites involve secret ceremonies, often conducted in darkness, where the living must appease spirits with offerings and chants. Failure to honor these rites risks haunting the tribe with curses or bringing bad luck to future hunts. Among the most terrifying taboos is the prohibition against revealing certain tribal secrets to outs. Idas, breaking this rule can bring exile or death, as secrecy is the tribe's shield against a world that threatens to erase them. These hidden customs protect not just traditions but survival itself. Outsiders find the Jarawa's beliefs strange, even unsettling, an alien world where fear and faith intertwine so tightly that they dictate every choice. Yet for the Jarawa, these taboos are the invisible chains that hold their society together, keeping order, balance, and life itself intact. The power of these beliefs extends beyond the spirit world into the harsh reality of human conflict. The tribe's silent wars and rituals of vengeance reveal the darker side of their ancient customs. In the shadowed depths of the Andaman forests, warfare among the Jarawa is not loud or boastful. It is silent, swift, and deadly. Conflict is woven into the tribe's fabric, shaping relationships and determining who lives or dies. Revenge is more than anger. It is a sacred duty, passed down through generations as a matter of honor and survival. Every vendetta is a thread in the tribe's complex social web, binding families and clans in a fragile balance of power. The Jarawa's methods of warfare rely on stealth and cunning rather than brute force. Warriors move like ghosts through the undergrowth, striking with precise arrows before vanishing without a trace. Ambushes and traps are carefully planned, exploiting intimate knowledge of the forest to outwit enemies. These tactics ensure that violence is swift and efficient, minimizing risk but maximizing impact. Revenge is relentless and personal. A slight or injury cannot be ignored, for it dishonors not just the individual but the entire clan. The cycle of retaliation can stretch for years, fueling quiet tensions that simmer beneath the tribe's surface. Each act of vengeance is ritualized, bound to ancestral laws that demand balance and respect even in violence. This hidden world of silent hunters reveals a side of the Jarawa seldom witnessed by outsiders. Beneath their peaceful resistance to contact lies a society where survival often depends on the ability to fight, to protect family and land with lethal skill. As the jungle tightens its grip round them, the Jarawa's struggle continues not only against nature and outsiders, but also through the rituals of conflict that keep their ancient world alive. Their fierce survival faces a new battle, one that threatens to unravel the delicate harmony they have fought so long to preserve. The Jarawa stand at a crossroads, their ancient world shrinking as modern forces press relentlessly into the forests. Depths, roads carved through sacred land, and outsiders rive with machines and promises that disrupt the delicate balance the tribe has maintained for generations. These intrusions threaten not only their territory, but the very survival of their culture, forcing the Jarawa into an impossible struggle between tradition and change. Despite their fierce resistance, the tribe faces increasing contact with fishermen, settlers, and government officials eager to exploit the island's resources. Clashes erupt, sometimes violent, as the Jarawa defend what remains of their ancestral home. Their knowledge of the jungle once a shield is challenged by new technologies and relentless encroachment. Every day brings a new test of endurance, as old rituals confront the harsh realities of a world moving too fast to understand. Caught between two worlds, the Jarawa grapple with difficult choices. To retreat deeper into the forest means risking isolation from vital resources and medical care. To engage with outsiders risks losing the traditions that define them. This tension creates a fragile existence. Where survival demands both resilience and adaptation, the tribe's story is one of relentless courage. A battle to preserve identity in the face of overwhelming odds. Their fight is not just for land, but for a way of life built on centuries of knowledge, belief, and ritual. As the modern world closes in, the Jarawa's fate hangs in the balance an ancient culture striving to endure against a tide of change few can resist. Beyond this struggle lies the deeper story of how ancient rituals and beliefs shape every choice the Jarawa make, binding past and present in a fragile dance of survival. Whispers of the forest. The Kaluli Tribe's shocking rituals of sound and spirit. The Kaluli Tribe inhabits one of the most remote corners of Papua New Guinea, a realm where the forest breathes, sings, and whispers secrets in every rustle of leaves and call of birds. Here, the air vibrates with a chorus of sounds notes carried by the wind, echoing between towering trees and winding rivers for the Kaluli. This is not just nature's backdrop, but the very essence of existence. Their world is built upon a sacred bond with sound, a living language that connects the seen and unseen, the living and the dead. From the moment a child opens their eyes, they become part of a vast network of voices. Every breath they take is measured alongside the songs that shape their identity. These melodies are far more than mere music. They are the tribe's soul. Through song, the Kaluli speak to ancestors, call upon spirits, and navigate the dense forest that shelters and defines them. Silence is almost impossible, for it threatens to sever this fragile thread that ties their lives to the eternal pulse of the forest. The forest itself is alive to the Kaluli, a realm inhabited by spirits that communicate through birdsong, the rustling of leaves, and the hum of insects. Each sound carries meaning, a message from the natural world that guides decisions and defines social bonds. To the Kaluli, singing is a form of conversation, a ritual dialogue with the forests. Hidden forces. This exchange shapes everything. How they mourn, how they celebrate, and how they survive. Among the tribe, individual voices are gifts inherited from the ancestors, echoing ancient songs that demand both reverence and precision. To sing a wrong note is to risk disrupting the delicate harmony between humans and spirits. This belief casts an eerie weight on every melody, every chant, embedding a sense of sacred responsibility from childhood onward. Their songs trace the boundaries between life and death. The Kaluli believe that spirits linger not in silence but in the vibrations of the living world, carried by these persistent, haunting voices. When someone dies, their presence does not vanish, but lives on in the songs sung by those left behind. The forest's echoes keep their memory alive, blurring the line between past and present in ways outsiders struggle to comprehend. This obsession with sound shapes not only culture, but the very psychology of the tribe. It is a world where the invisible is heard and where the forest's voice commands obedience and respect. To exist as a Kaluli is to be both a guardian and a prisoner of this endless song, an unsettling legacy woven from the symphony of the wild dot in this world ruled by sound and spirit. Every ritual, every punishment, every belief springs from the profound need to maintain harmony within this fragile, vibrating web. This connection, as beautiful as it is disturbing, holds the key to understanding the Kaluli's extreme practices that echo in the heart of the forest and linger like a haunting refrain. The depths of this soundscape reveal more than just culture. They expose a worldview where life and death, fear and reverence, are inseparable. As the Kaluli's songs rise and fall, they invite a closer look at how sound shapes a society's darkest rituals and most sacred truths for the Kaluli. Songs are not just expressions of emotion, rather they are sacred vessels that carry the souls of the dead between worlds. Each melody is woven with intention, a ritual thread connecting the living to ancestors who linger just beyond sight in this soundscape. Music becomes a bridge over the invisible divide, a channel through which spirits move, speak, and sometimes intervene. The forest resonates with these voices, as if it itself breathes in the sacred songs. Silence is avoided at all costs, for it is feared as a void where spirits might be lost, forgotten, or trapped. The Kaluli believe that without the constant flow of song, the fragile balance between life and death shatters. The dead rely on the melodies sung by the living to find their way, to communicate, and to remain part of the world they once knew. Each song carries a message, pleas for protection, expressions of grief, or offerings of respect. These are not casual tunes, but carefully crafted chants that must be performed correctly, with the right tone and rhythm. A missed note or a faltering voice risks offending the spirits, which could bring illness, misfortune, or even death to the tribe. This constant pressure shapes every singer's existence, binding them in a lifelong duty to preserve the tribe's spiritual harmony. The haunting quality of these vocal traditions blurs reality and the supernatural. Spirits are said to echo in the songs, their presence felt as a chill in the air or a shadow in the trees. To outsiders, the Kaluli's continuous singing may seem eerie or unsettling. But for the tribe, it is a vital lifeline, a protective shield woven from sound that guards against the chaos of the unseen world. This constant interplay between life and death, mediated by song, defines much of the Kaluli's daily existence. It creates an atmosphere thick with mystery and tension, where every voice carries the weight of generations and every silence threatens to unravel the fragile web of connection. Here, music is more than sound, it is survival. As the songs ripple through the forest, they prepare the tribe for the deep emotional ceremonies that follow, where grief, fear, and hope collide in an intense chorus of mourning. In the Kaluli world, grief is not whispered behind closed doors or hidden in quiet solitude. It erupts as a powerful, communal storm of sound that floods the forest with piercing cries and sorrowful songs. Mourning here is a public, sonic ceremony where pain is not softened but magnified, demanding acknowledgement from every member of the tribe. The air fills with raw emotion as voices rise and fall, creating a haunting symphony of loss that refuses to be ignored. The wailing is guttural and intense, stretching beyond individual sorrow into a collective expression of despair. This mournful chorus weaves through the trees, carrying grief not only for the departed but for the entire community's fragile existence. It is a ritual that forces the tribe to confront death head-on, using sound to transform personal agony into shared resilience. The mourners' cries echo like thunder, shaking the forest and stirring spirits from the unseen world. Songs accompany the wail's complex, melancholic melodies that trace the journey of the dead and honor their place within the living world. These vocal tributes keep the spirits close, preventing their passage from becoming final or forgotten. The grief is ongoing, often lasting months, as the tribe channels sorrow into these intense ceremonies that bind them tightly together. Every note and cry serves as a thread in the fabric of communal healing, even as it deepens the ache of loss. This approach to mourning exposes a cultural paradox. Grief becomes both a weapon and a bomb. It sharpens the pain, refusing to let it fade quietly, while also offering a shared space where suffering is transformed into connection. The rawness of sound, the unfiltered emotion, creates a bond that transcends individual experience. making death a collective ordeal that no one escapes alone. The intensity of this sonic mourning reflects the Kaluli's profound belief in the power of sound to shape reality and maintain the balance between the living and the dead. It is a ritual that pushes the boundaries of human endurance and emotional expression, preparing the tribe for the next stage in their spiritual journey. Where possession and the spirit world loom ever closer, the forest is not just a home for the Kaluli, it is a living presence, filled with spirits that dwell in the shadows and whisper through the trees. These spirits are believed to possess the power to invade human bodies, seizing control in sudden and terrifying ways. Spirit possession is a deeply feared phenomenon. Yet it also commands reverence, for it represents the forest's raw power, overwhelming the fragile human will. When possession strikes, the affected person becomes a vessel for forces beyond understanding. Their body convulses, their mind twists into confusion and pain. These episodes can last hours or days, marked by wild movements, incoherent speech, and moments of eerie calm that unsettle the entire tribe. The possessed are caught between worlds, neither fully themselves nor completely overtaken by the spirits. This state blurs the line between life and death, sanity and madness. The Kaluli see possession not only as a curse but also as a sacred event and intense encounter with the forest's mysterious force. It reveals the delicate balance humans must maintain with the natural world. To lose control is terrifying, but it also signals a direct connection to the spiritual realm that governs their existence. The possessed become messengers, warning or guiding the tribe through their altered states. To manage these dangerous encounters, the Kaluli perform elaborate ceremonies filled with chanting, drumming, and ritual song. These intense rituals aim to coax the spirits out or to negotiate with them, blending fear and respect in a delicate dance. The community gathers, their voices rising in urgent harmony, seeking to restore balance and release the trapped soul. The rituals are taxing physically, emotionally, and spiritually, but necessary to protect both the individual and the tribe. This interplay between possession and ceremony exposes the Kaluli's profound relationship with the unknown forces of the forest. It is a world where control is fragile and fleeting, where humans are both masters and servants to the spirits that shape their fate. These encounters with possession deepen the tribe's connection to the forest's power, preparing them to confront the harsh laws and punishments that enforce respect for this unseen realm. In the Kaluli world, certain rules are absolute and breaking them invites harsh, unforgiving consequences. The tribe's sacred codes are rooted deeply in respect for the forest and its spirits. Any act seen as a betrayal, whether it is disrespecting the natural world, interrupting ritual sounds, or neglecting ancestral duties, shatters the delicate harmony that holds the community together. Such offenses demand swift and severe punishment. Physical punishments can be brutal. Offenders may face beatings, scarification, or other forms of bodily pain meant to purify and warn. These acts are not merely punitive, but serve as a harsh reminder of the tribe's dependence on the forest's goodwill. The pain endured is a tangible price for disturbing forces far beyond human control. It is a punishment that echoes the tribe's fear of spiritual retribution and the desperate need to restore balance. Beyond physical pain, social exile is one of the most devastating consequences. Those who break taboos may be shunned, cut off from communal life and the vital rituals that bind the Kaluli together. Isolation in this culture is a fate almost worse than death, severing not only social ties but spiritual connections. The exile forces the offender into silence, an unbearable void in a society where sound and voice are lifelines. These punishments reveal a justice system deeply intertwined with spiritual belief and fear. The forest and its spirits are not distant forces but active judges, demanding respect and obedience. Every punishment reinforces the fragile equilibrium the Kaluli strive to maintain between the human and spirit worlds. It is a stark reminder that survival depends on honoring ancient laws that govern not just behavior but existence itself through these extreme responses. The tribe preserves a powerful message. Disrespect threatens not just individuals but the entire community. The Kaluli's harsh codes and punishments shape a world where fear and reverence walk hand in hand, setting the stage for a culture where survival depends on obedience to forces unseen but deeply felt. Midst the creeping shadows of modernization and outside influence, the Kaluli hold fast to their sonic heritage as a lifeline to their past and future. These ancient songs and rituals are far more than tradition, they are the very foundation of identity. Why, binding generations through a shared language of sound and spirit. Each melody carries the weight of history, memory, and survival, echoing the voices of ancestors who still guide the tribe's path. The Kaluli understand that losing their songs would mean unraveling the fragile fabric that connects them to the forest and to each other. In a world changing rapidly, their music is a fortress against disappearance, a powerful force that preserves community bonds and cultural knowledge. Through these vocal traditions, the tribe resists erasure, asserting the sacred link between life, death, and the soundscape that cradles them. This enduring commitment reveals a profound truth. Sound for the Kaluli is not mere cultural expression, but a vital force that sustains their existence itself. It shapes their worldview, their social order, and their spiritual balance. The forest's whispers, the voices of ancestors, and the communal songs all merge into a living legacy, one that continues to pulse in the heart of this mysterious tribe. Their story is a testament to the power of sound survival. In a world often silent to ancient voices, the Kaluli's song endures unbroken, haunting and alive, carrying forward the spirit of a people who live, breathe, and die within the music of the forest.